Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Agreeable Gray Area podcast. As always, I am your host, Elle. I am sorry once again for the long hiatus between episodes. I really wanted an episode in July, but that just didn't happen because of a few things. One, procrastination. I'm not going to deny that. That's a huge one for me. Trying to get better at it. Two, I dislocated my shoulder. I know that's a massive thing to say, and you're probably thinking, why didn't I say that first? Since that's very big. But I don't really need my shoulder to record a podcast. It just makes it easier to record a podcast. Since about March, I want to say, I've been learning how to swim properly. I say properly because I knew how to swim well enough if I were to be capsized in a pool. I would be able to, swim to the other side of the pool and survive. In an ocean, not so much. I don't think I would have survived an ocean if I were to be capsized in the middle of an ocean. But if I were capsized in the middle of a pool, I would have been able to save myself. So my boyfriend, he's been teaching me how to swim properly. And I would go out and swim pretty much every Sunday. I live right in front of the pool in my neighborhood, so it was very convenient. And it's a rectangular pool. A lot of pools are very oblong shaped, especially in communities and neighborhoods. Most pools are meant for just playing. This pool is also meant for playing, but it is a rectangular pool, so you can actually swim the length, and it's really great for exercising. I've been trying to find other forms of cardio to do because I guess I'm just preparing for old age. And then I dislocated my shoulder swimming. I was finally getting the hang of swimming and breathing at the same time, too. And then my shoulder just dislocated. And it's been a struggle ever since. I've been seeing a physical therapist. I've been seeing an orthopedic doctor. I'm going to be getting an MRI next week. At the time of this recording, it's August 2nd. And it's been quite a ride. I was actually seeing another physical therapist for my other shoulder, my left shoulder, because for years I've had this issue where if I were to lift my arm over my head, I'd feel a weird pinching pain. I've had it for years on and off. I don't know why. I never really thought to look into it, but when I noticed it come back, I was like, yeah, let me go get this checked out. So I was seeing another physical therapist for that. And my left shoulder was getting better. Things were looking up. Then my right shoulder just dislocated. I never really had any issues with my right shoulder. My right shoulder wasn't in any pain. There wasn't really any soreness or any warning signs, so it was very alarming. And I guess I wasn't prepared enough for old age. I guess old age came and attacked me. So I've been getting better. I dislocated it around the end of May, like Memorial Day weekend. And it's been getting better slowly but surely. But man, is it slowly. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm happy to no longer be in a sling. I'm happy to have more motion in my shoulder. I'm happy to be able to use my right hand because I am right-handed. So not using my right hand at all was very difficult. So I'm happy that I can, do these things, and it's been a journey because I've been realizing how much I rely on my arm. I know it's kind of like well, no, no shit, Sherlock. Of course you do. But it's very different because even things like doing my hair, opening a door, closing the car door or something, like I have to be so mindful with everything that I was doing. Right now, not so much because my shoulders healed a lot more. But those beginning weeks were it was very rough. I had to be in a sling for about 3 weeks. And after that, like I was afraid to sleep without the sling for about a week. And then I decided to do so because I roll around in my sleep. There were so many times when I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd wake up because I'd just be in so much pain. At the beginning, when I first dislocated, it was practically impossible to sleep. You don't realize how many muscles you use just laying on your back. Just the weight of gravity just pushing on my shoulder, and my shoulder was just not having it. I could not stand it. It was terrible. So, with all that said, it is still not really an excuse as to why I haven't been recording an episode because sitting was fine. Sitting was great for my shoulder. I don't need my shoulder to talk. I don't need my shoulder to press buttons. Actually, fun fact, my last episode about being selfish, my shoulder had just dislocated. So I did record an episode. So that just gives me even more. Actually, no. It gives me less of an excuse as to why I haven't provided you all with an episode. So that is my bad. But I'm happy to know that you feel bad because y'all didn't know I dislocated my shoulder. Well, I'm sure most of y'all did. I'm pretty sure I know most of you guys, but any random person who listens to this, I dislocated my shoulder and I'm using that. Actually, I'm not even using that as an excuse. I'm just trying to get my shoulder better. Leave me alone. Anyway, so with all this therapy that I do, with physical therapy, I see a therapist, a mental therapist. I've been thinking about other forms of therapy lately. You may hear a lot of people say, oh, the gym is my therapy, or meditation is my therapy, or yoga is my therapy. The biggest form of therapy, believe it or not, is actually retail therapy. We're all a client of retail therapy. You know, people sometimes question me about going to therapy and, paying whatever. But nobody questions people who are into retail therapy. I guess it depends on the retail therapy. Like there are some people who are sneakerheads who are really into sneakers who go to the thing that you wait in line at the mall for a long time. I forgot what Jordan drops, I think they're called. I don't know. Clearly I'm not a sneakerhead. People buy shoes, high-end fashion, heels, stilettos, boots, purses. That's a big one. There are also people who are really into technology, whether it's podcasting equipment, microphones, mic arms, lighting, audio equipment, cameras, like things like that. There are people who are really who are audiophiles, who buy really great speakers, certain kinds of amplifiers for the speakers. So buying things has always been a weird topic for me because I grew up pretty poor. I know, boo-hoo. No, I grew up pretty poor. We were definitely a paycheck to paycheck family. I was the last of 7. There were so many of us. There were so many kids, so many people, so many mouths to feed, bills to pay. The effects of a lack of money was always around me. So I always took saving my money and budgeting very seriously. When I was like 6 or 7, I would go to my dad every day when he got home from work and ask him for $1. I was a kid. I wasn't going anywhere. I had nothing to spend my dollar on. But I asked him for $1, and he'd give me $1. The next day, I'd ask him for $1, and he'd give me another $1. And then one day, he told me that if you take this $1 and you don't spend it, and I give you another $1, then you got $2. I was like, right. Then the next day, you get $3, $4, so on and so forth. And then, you could save up. I was like, right, okay. Mind you, I was like a kid, and $1 was like, I don't know, $100 to me. Essentially, what he was teaching me was compound interest, or how to double your funds, or, gain more funds by just waiting rather than taking that $1 and immediately spending it for immediate gratification. Once I got older, once I got my first job at 16, I would save my paychecks. Back then, I was getting like a physical paper paycheck. I didn't have direct deposit. So I would get a paycheck and I would just put it somewhere. And then I would get my next paycheck, and then I would go and cash or deposit the 2 paychecks into my bank account. One of my good friends from high school, he would make fun of me about it. He was like, "You just have a ton of uncashed checks," because I would tell him what I would do. But yeah, that was something I would do because I wanted to save my money. I knew having money was a very important thing. Whenever I would buy something that I wasn't really sure of or I was uncertain about, I'd feel very sad. I'd get buyer's remorse. I'd regret it. I'd ask myself, why the heck did I buy this? I remember one time my brother convinced me to buy Dragon Ball Z cards. Right, like have you even heard of that? Yeah, like it was, I guess, a thing back then for sure, but I have yet to hear of anyone talk about Dragon Ball Z cards today. Like people still talk about Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I have yet to hear of anybody talk about Dragon Ball Z cards, which actually might be a good thing because if I still had them wherever they are, they're probably worth something. And I remember about Dragon Ball Z cards. I can't remember how old I was. I don't think I was in high school, but I remember getting teary-eyed because I felt like it was so stupid. It was such a stupid purchase. And I probably only played with the deck like a handful of times. Not because I felt bad. I think at the time when I would play with them, I was kind of, over the feeling of remorse, of regret. That memory's still near and dear to me because I just remember that feeling of, oh my God, what did I do? Why did I do something so stupid? And it's a very real feeling. The feeling is real. It's valid. It's also kind of stupid. And what I mean by that is, like, you do have to invest in yourself. You just have to know how to invest and when to invest. I know that's once again like another no shit Sherlock comment. But it's very easy to get swept up into the glamour of the newest toy, the newest cell phone, the newest MacBook Pro, the newest car, like it's very easy because what ends up happening is you might get what they call analysis paralysis and you don't end up buying anything. I'm pretty guilty of that. But you do need to pull the trigger sometimes, especially if it's something that you keep thinking about. Usually, when I'm constantly thinking about how much better my life would be if I just have XYZ, or if I just had a better version of XYZ, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep thinking about it for weeks, months, years, then I know that I need to purchase this thing. For example, I recently purchased the Elgato mic arm, the high-rise Elgato mic arm. It was on sale on Amazon for Amazon Prime Day. And I've been looking at this mic arm for a while. I initially wanted the low rise, and I may still get the low rise. But the high rise was a little bit cheaper, and it's also just incredibly nice. Granted, yeah, I don't podcast very often. I don't podcast consistently, rather. I do have a very consistent live stream podcast that I do called the Melanated Council. I co-host it along with my friends Toby and Ron. And, we stream for about 2, sometimes 3 hours on Tuesday nights. We've been doing it for a little over 3 years now. Sitting at the desk for several hours using the old mic stand, I would have to kind of hunch over a bit, put my mouth really close to the mic, and it was putting a lot of strain on my neck. It was, getting my posture all out of whack. I wasn't feeling comfortable. Granted, I was feeling a lot more comfortable than previous positions I've been in on the Melanated Council. If you were to see our older episodes, especially from 2020, I would record on my bed because my mom was living with me and I didn't want to be in the living room. But then I started recording in the living room because I was sitting on my bed for 2-3 hours was absolutely atrocious. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how I got through that. But then I was sitting on around the dining room table. At the time, I was working from the dining room table because we were still working from home during the pandemic. And also my mom was still living with me. So I was sitting in my computer chair, and it's an ergonomic mesh chair, and it has a headrest, and it's just a lot more comfortable. So it was fantastic on my back. And then I eventually moved into the second bedroom after my mom moved out. I bought a standing desk. I'm working from home. So if I'm sitting for a very long time, it's nice to have the ability to stand. I'll be honest, I don't use the standing desk portion of it often because when I work from home, I get up a lot anyway. However, there have been times when I would be working very late and I'll just be so focused in the zone trying to get these projects, these jobs done, and I would use it and it would just be so handy. I'm a firm believer of it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So speaking of posture, I recently had a meeting with a posture professional at work, and he made me realize how important posture in the chair is. I know that's, once again, common sense. However, so since I have a really nice ergonomic chair, courtesy of my job, I thought all my problems were solved. But I learned how I had my keyboard, how I had my arms situated, where my monitors were. I had to switch my monitors around. It's been quite a ride, but I actually do like it more. He was able to determine that I had a posterior pelvic tilt, where pretty much, I don't know, go look up what a posterior pelvic tilt is. You'll see. And it was putting a lot of strain on my hamstrings, my lower back, and these were issues that I've had since the dawn of time. When I was working out with my personal trainer, I was able to relieve a lot of that. However, because I'm not exercising as consistently anymore, especially with my dislocated shoulder, a lot of these aches and pains have come back. It's good to know where they originated from and how to alleviate them. So I'm not too worried, but it's kind of mind-boggling how I sit can just easily make a whole 180 on my hamstrings and lower back progress. It is absolutely insane. So I've been really monitoring how I sit, and it's been helping me a lot. Since I saw that posture professional, I've been really trying to dive deeper into ergonomic desk stuff, so my body is at its most optimal, especially since I'm going to be diving deeper into the content creator world, so I'm going to be sitting for longer periods of time. Posture affects everything, which is probably why my shoulder dislocated so easily, because everybody was confused as to how I dislocated my shoulder doing an activity that's supposed to help strengthen your shoulders. When it comes to investing in yourself, a lot of times people think of it as exercising, meditation, therapy, like the other therapies. Usually retail therapy is kind of put on the back burner. Usually if you buy something for yourself, it's seen more as a treat rather than therapy, rather than something that you actually needed to make your life a little bit better. It is very ideal to buy things that'll make your life easier. We all know the quote, you're spending money that you don't have to buy things that you don't want to impress people you don't even like. I see where that's coming from. I guess I would take that. I used to take that saying way too literally. And when I started to do the work within myself as to why am I buying these things? And if the thoughts are fantastical, if I'm thinking, OMG, if I buy these things, my friends will think I'm so impressive. They'll want to come over. My place will be the place to be, blah, blah, blah. This, like, whatever fantastical thought I would have to justify why I need this thing. And then I would slow my roll. I'd be like, yo, Leandra, do you really need this? Is this really the reason why you want this thing? And, it'll just be this cool thing that I see on YouTube in a YouTube video. This person is using a really cool exercise thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if I had that thing, my life would be so much better. My shoulders would feel better immediately. It's just these really stupid thoughts that I have. And I have to really slow down and think, do I really need that? What do I have already that can help me? How often do I actually use these things that's going to justify me purchasing another thing that will help me, even though I already have something that will help me? For example, I have a lot of exercise bands, and the reason why, especially now, is because of my shoulders. But I also bought some other bands for eventually stretching out my hips and my ankles and just my lower body, because I've been watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos about squatting and your knees and things like that. In college, my knee popped in and out of place twice. Once when I was sophomore year, the other time I think it was my senior year. And it just popped out when I was doing practically nothing. One of the times I was literally just standing outside talking to my neighbor and my friend, and it just popped in and out. So it's pretty safe to say that I've been worried about that knee my whole life since then, especially with my shoulder just popping out of place and then having to go to the ER and get it popped back in. I've been kind of freaking out about what it is that I need and what it is that I need to do. And I can't just be going to physical therapy all the time because that's going to cost money. So I've been trying to do things on my own, and I go on Amazon and I see these things that are absolutely incredible, but they're just so expensive. I don't know if they can even fit in my home. So I try to find things that I can purchase that will be helpful for me, that I know I will use. Because if I'm using what I already have, then I am more than likely going to use the better thing. So I try to buy something that's cheaper, something that I can actually utilize, and then just stay right there. It's pretty much staying at level 1 or level 2 and coasting on level 1 or level 2 for as long as I possibly can until I surpass that level and I actually need an extra thing. So back to the quote, you're spending money that you don't have to buy things that you don't want to impress people you don't even like. Really try to focus on what you actually need and what is causing you to just go crazy. So let me tell you a story. Back in 2018, I spent $130 on a trash can. And it's probably one of the best purchases I've ever made in my life. So when I first moved into my home in end of 2015, right? I bought a trash can from Target. It was probably like 20, $30. It was cylindrical, it was white, it had the little step thing to open up, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was so cute. Brought it home, was using it, and then it started attracting a bunch of maggots. It was a maggot magnet. I have no idea why. The trash can was designed in such a way that it had a whole bunch of crevices, and these crevices were big enough for maggots to get in, or whatever to get in, but small enough that I couldn't really clean it. So I kept getting fruit flies in my home. There would be times when I would just have a whole ton of fruit flies. Every time I'd open the trash, a bunch of fruit flies would fly out. It was just absolutely horrendous. I would always take my whole trash can outside and take the trash bag out. So, because like when I had to open it to take the trash bag out, a bunch of fruit flies would fly out. So that just minimized the amount of fruit flies in the house. And I would always have to do that. There were several times I had to hose down the trash can. I had to take the hose from the patio, bring it to the front because the hose was too short. Right now I have a 100-foot hose for a reason. Back then I had a little tiny hose. It was probably like 10 feet. I had to bring the hose to the front, hose it down, dry the trash can, which was a whole thing in and of itself, and then bring the trash can back. And I did that for 3 years. I kept telling myself, if I just buy a new trash can, this issue would just happen again. I was thinking about buying those little plastic Rubbermaid trash cans, the trash can that you're thinking of in your head with the little flip around lid thing. It's like a triangular lid. I was thinking about just buying one of those and calling it a day. But I just held on to it because I didn't want to spend money on a trash can. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a trash can. It just holds trash. It shouldn't be a thing I should invest in. But it was driving me crazy. This maggot problem was driving me mad. So about a year or so after I bought my place and therefore the piece of shit trash can, I went to a friend's place and I just remember his home was just spick and span. It was immaculate. Like nothing seemed thrown around, like no trash on the ground, no, like nothing. Like everything, it was just flawless, right? I had to throw out something, so he pointed me to where the trash was, and I almost didn't see it because it just looked part of the home. It was a simple human trash can. And it was just gorgeous. It was just sleek. It was just modern. I finally realized why people spend money on what we may consider to be minuscule things, you know? I was struggling with a trash can for so long because I just didn't see the point of spending so much money on a trash can. But, it took me 2 more years or so to justify actually purchasing the trash can. But I really wanted it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I had to struggle with my cylindrical piece of shit, I just kept thinking about how I just needed this trash can. So one day I just sucked it up and bought it. It was $130. Probably one of the best purchases I've made to this day. I posted about it on Facebook. Some of my friends made fun of me. They were like, "Oh, this trash can better be made out of gold. Why are you spending so much money on a trash can? Blah, blah, blah." Granted, none of them were homeowners. None of them knew what I was going through with that Target trash can. Like the misery it caused me. The fact that I had to go through this when it was so unnecessary, hosing it down, drying it off, dealing with the fruit flies. I didn't have to go through that, but I was putting myself through that because I felt so silly wanting a $130 trash can. I felt so silly thinking about what people would think if I bought a $130 trash can. But I bought it and I have yet to have that fruit fly problem. I have yet to have to hose down my trash can because of just grossness, you know? Also, I forgot to mention the shitty Target trash can. I had to keep it probably like a foot or so away from the wall because whenever I would press it open with the foot paddle, the lid would hit the wall. So that was just another thing, Yeah, I was able to maneuver around it. I was able to live with it, but I wasn't living. I was miserable. Just that little thing drove me crazy. And the thought of what people would think if I spent $130 on a trash can. And guess what? One of my friends who made fun of me for spending $130 on a trash can, a couple of years later, she asked me, what was the trash can that I bought? Because now she and her husband are a homeowner. She and her husband are now parents. So I can't imagine what she must be going through having a child. Like just the little things of throwing out the diapers might be a big old hassle for her because of their trash can, So I say all that to say, I know you don't want to spend money on things that you don't want to impress people that you don't like. Or you may feel like you want to spend money on things to impress people that you do like. But first and foremost, you got to spend money on things to impress yourself. You got to invest in yourself because my life, my mental health, just my overall well-being, my overall lifestyle has improved drastically just for purchasing a trash can. Sometimes it's the little things that we look past because we don't want to spend the money on, yet we justify spending money on things that aren't going to improve our lives. So you may feel like you don't need to buy a new TV because your television works. But if the picture quality is shit, if the sound quality is trash, then buy a new television. Look into buying quality speakers. Because if this is something that you use every day, if this is something that you look forward to using, if this is something that you just have to use because you need a trash can in your home, then definitely think about investing in these little things. I am very happy with this mic arm. This is the most comfortable I felt recording a podcast. You could probably hear how passionate I'm sounding talking about a trash can, It's still funny, but it is definitely worth it. So, with that said, thank you all so much for listening. My website, agreeablegrayarea.com, is up. It should be good to go by the time I release this episode. There's still some lorem ipsum dummy text there on it, but I'm trying to work on the blog, trying to get the blog up and running, looking good. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm going to also put up a forum where you can sign up and send you all newsletter emails. I am a professional email developer, so my emails will actually look good. So there's that. I understand that a lot of people don't want to sign up for another mailing list. It's like, what does Leandra have to say? But I promise I won't be spamming you all. Just probably just going to let y'all know when I have a new episode or a new blog post. And if you see the cadence of this podcast, then you don't really have much to worry about. But if you've listened to this podcast before, then you know I always say I'm going to try to come out with an episode sooner. Every single time I mean it. Every single time I fail. Hopefully, since I'm making things easier for myself, I should be doing this a little bit more often. I won't lie, this is probably the most fun I've had recording a solo podcast in a while. I think it's because of literally just all the little things, the new mic arm, having my chair in a better way, the monitor for sure. That's been lovely. I got a new ring light that mounts to my desk, so I've been saving a lot of space on my desk, which has been fantastic. I could not stand having a tripod ring light on my desk. It just caused so much clutter. But yeah, definitely check out my website, once again, agreeablegrayarea.com, and invest in not just stocks and bonds and things, invest in the little things just to make your life a little bit easier. So with that said, I am signing off.